Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to BWTM Sports Gaming. Hope that you're well. So this is a very quick video. I'm going to try and make it as quick as possible, this video. So a few things have been happening in the world of boxing. It seems the further away I move away from the sport, the clearer things seem to be. It seems that I've become a genius overnight. I'm Nostradamus, or things are just that simple to see, and that we're, pardon the pun, so boxed in that we don't actually see the wood from the trees. Let me throw this up at you. So we have the Josh Taylor situation and the scoring, when I basically said this sport is corrupt, and that Jack Catterall wasn't robbed, because if he was robbed, then we're talking about a fair and just system in boxing, and there isn't a fair and just system in boxing because other people have been robbed before Catterall and will continue to get robbed, and probably people are getting robbed right now in boxing, and not even robbed, they're now getting unfairly treated. And if you're not a big ticket seller, or you're not at the A side, then or you're not Olympic gold medalist, or a world champion in the amateurs, or you got a decorated amateur career, you can forget it for the most part. But that's just the way boxing's always been. But anyway, I don't want to really go back into all that again. But one of the things I did say, if you remember rightly, I said that Ian John Lewis, in all what's going on here, check out and see what's going on with Ian John Lewis. Lo and behold, what's going on here? No, I have no connection with any judges whatsoever. Ian John Lewis. Out of all the judges, out of all the dinosaurs we got there, Ian John Lewis is the name that's been pulled up. So he's going to cop the blame because of one bad scorecard. He's going to be downgraded. What about all those other judges and referees that have been in the past? Let's say you could say their eyes have been elsewhere. Where's the consistency? Why now Ian John Lewis? Because a member of parliament and the head of the house in England is said, because his constituent is Jack Catterall. And listen, he's doing a fair job for Jack Catterall, right? He's doing a fantastic job. And Jack Catterall, by the way, I think he's number one in the rankings now, because of his performance against Josh Taylor, and Josh Taylor's moved to number 2. So there is some justice in the ranking system, wherever that ranking system is. I was watching today. So back to Ian John Lewis. Ian John Lewis has had some shockers, yeah. And then one of my common jokes about Ian John Lewis is that, you know, he could stop a bus, he could stop a speeding bullet, in terms of some of the stoppages that he has done in the past. But hey, you criticize judges and you criticize referees for stopping fights too late. Sometimes Ian John Lewis has been a criticizer of stopping fights too early, but he's not the only one. But again, I'm going to go there with this one. There are very few black referees and black judges. You name in the UK. There are very few black promoters in the UK. When you look at the statistics, how many Indian judges and refs do you see? So this is not inclusive. It's not including everybody, right? So typically, and it is what it is. For those of you who can understand, you know, the fall guy is usually the guy of color. That's just the way historically things have been. Okay, so they're going to blame somebody, and you know, all the dinosaurs were in a room. Then the dinosaur, that the darkie, as they say back in the 70s, would be the one to get it. Nothing much changes now. If they all went for the fall and they all copped it, then I'd say, right, fine. But Ian John Lewis, I said it. And now look, they've downgraded the guy already, Ian John Lewis. And you're saying to me, Ian John Lewis is the only judge in British boxing that's looked dodgy. Now, I wonder if he was stitched up. What I mean stitched up is like, look, you know what? We know what the score is here. We know what's going to happen, right? We know what will happen. So you do your scoring. You make your scoring bang on. You make your scoring bang on. But don't tell Ian tonight. Don't say nothing to Ian. Ian, we need to get rid of Ian. We got to find a way of getting rid of him. Scandal. How can we do it? Fine. It works. It happens. If you want to get a person out of the system, like you got them in the system, there's ways of getting a person out of the system. And to me, you know, the scorecards they've been dodgy scorecards before. But when you know you're being watched, when you know you're being monitored, when you damn well know there's a possibility if this goes tits up, you're going to get it. You make sure you're on your P's and Q's. Even if you're not normally on your P's and Q's. Jack Cattrall, what do you know about him? He's from Chorley. Who else is from Chorley? The leader of the house. Speaker of the house. Hey, let's be on our P's and Q's for this one. Let's make sure our scoring's okay and it looks decent. So predictable. Listen, balance is what I say. You're telling me that the other judges are not are golden and he's not. I don't know the full ramifications of what's really happened, or I mean, what the whole story is. I just saw the name Ian John Lewis downgraded. That was enough. He was a star referee. He's no longer a star referee. So what do you have to do to become a star referee? And why has he got punished and the other referees have not been, and judges not been punished previously for previous fights? So that's what I'm saying. The consistency there, I have a problem with. So that's the first thing. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing, the second thing I want to talk about tonight is AJ. Now, listen, I thought before AJ versus JOYCE is a good fight. Yeah, he said in the amateurs, he knocked up JOYCE in the amateurs in the first round. You know, listen, a lot of people say I get on AJ's back. I don't get on his back. I just see things coming a mile off, and I don't fall for the okie doke. Listen, I've got nothing personal against AJ. I think he's, in my eyes, he's very successful. Yeah, you heard me say he's very successful, and success is subjective. He secured his family. He secured his children's children. You know, I don't know. I don't know what's in another man's pocket, but he is successful in the terms of, did he want to become world heavyweight champion? Yeah. How many people sitting down behind keyboards can say they've been world heavyweight champion? Not once, but twice. And listen to this, could be heavyweight champion again a third time without even have to face Alexander Usyk. Listen to me carefully here. Listen to me carefully. Listen here. Now, JOYCE is the name that's been put about, right? Because JOYCE at the moment is in the wilderness. He's like, well, you know, he's the guy he really is the guy that nobody wants to fight. He is really a bogeyman. If you want to talk about bogeymen, JOYCE is that man. If you look at JOYCE's resume, and we talk about AJ's got a wonderful resume. Look at JOYCE's resume. Name me any guy, that Olympic gold medalist or silver medalist, that has had the level of stiff opposition. I don't mean stiff being, I mean stern opposition that this guy has faced. The type of guys he's fought, right? And he's gone through, including Daniel Dubois, who was the next coming of Mike Tyson, George Foreman. He wasn't expected to win that fight, George. He was meant to get blasted out. There are people saying Dubois was ahead on the scorecard. Really? Okay, if you say so. I thought JOYCE was using the jab very nicely and just pulling his head just out of the way in time of not getting clipped with them shots, full impact. But that's just my opinion. Now, check this out. Check this out and think about this. AJ wouldn't face AJ's handlers. Let's say that AJ's handlers were not interested in fighting Deontay Wilder when Deontay Wilder and him were unbeaten fighters. He was champion and Wilder was champion. I know there's a Twitter thing that's come out and said, oh, well, there was more money in fighting Fury than there was fighting Joshua. But let's also take into consideration who Wilder was dealing with at the time, which is Eddie Hearn. And to be honest, this is not a hating situation. You just have to use the Jake Paul situation of a YouTuber coming through the system and being able to now promote a fight which this promoter could not get over the line for years. Serrano and Taylor, he couldn't get together. Khan versus Brook. This guy Shalom comes out of nowhere, makes the fight happen. So this is almost like a blueprint. There's things that are happening now. You can see that are happening. You've seen the cracks open. You've seen light shine through as to what the hell's been going on in these sort of negotiations. But anyway, my point is this. You wouldn't face the most dangerous heavyweight in the world when you were unbeaten and you were unified champion. Why the hell now? You've been knocked out by Andy Ruiz. You regained the championship in an unconvincing win. Unconvincing meaning it wasn't the spectacular knockout. It was tactical and safety first, and he boxed on 2 instructions, and that was great, but it wasn't spectacular. Neither was Fury's performance against Klitschko, but he did something that a lot of people didn't expect him to do. If you go back and look at that fight again, I challenge you to say that was an all-time great fight. The 3 fights he had against Wilder were exciting because Wilder brought the fight. And that was a trilogy, and Wilder knew that there was a certain amount of money coming in when he was going to fight Fury. With Joshua, although they said this and that, as far as I'm concerned, you couldn't trust that team as far as you could throw them. These are my thoughts now. So the Joe Joyce fight's been thrown about a bit, and AJ's like, "Yeah, I'd fight him, no problem." You've still got Andy Ruiz issues. You've still got Usyk issues, but Usyk's in Ukraine at the moment, so that's probably not going to happen. So now they're talking about an interim fight, and you know how people are. Otto Wallin is the interim fight. Let me throw this out at you. I would not be surprised if either Deontay Wilder's already signed a contract to fight somebody else, or he's going to retire. And he's come out in a grapevine. Wilder's going to retire now. He's sick of the sport. He doesn't want to box again. He's disillusioned. Doesn't want to box again. Great opportunity to put yourself out there. Quick spit PR and say, you know what? I want to fight Wilder. I'm ready for fight Wilder. I'll fight him anytime, any place, anywhere. Yeah? And that's great PR. And that kind of gets the fans back on with AJ. He's looking cool at the moment. Calm, chill out with everybody. He's the real AJ now, right? The real AJ. Yeah. Looking Tristan. He looks the real AJ. But check this out. So while all that public PR, AJ is doing this and AJ's just being cool, that's cool. And Usyk's, as far away from him as possible, which is great. Joe Joyce is lurking in the background. You really don't want to be fighting Joe Joyce. You don't want to get beaten up again. Now this time by Joe Joyce. And there's nothing to suggest that AJ is going to blast through Joe Joyce based on his fight with Usyk and his fight with Ruiz. You could say maybe AJ fights better against big men. That's another conversation for another day. But how about this? How about AJ and Eddie trying to go to become 3-time heavyweight champion of the world and fight Trevor Bryant? Now, that would be a turn up for the books. Trevor Bryant's already just finished fighting. I'm sure AJ would be somewhere in the WBA ratings. So, AJ versus Trevor Bryant. Can he jump the queue ahead of Daniel Dubois? I wonder. Is it possible? Now, that's the sort of thing I would expect Matchroom to do. WBA regular belt, then AJ wins if he was to fight Trevor Bryant and beat Trevor Bryant. 3-time heavyweight champion of the world, he would have done it. So who would have done it? He would have become 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. If he fights Trevor Bryant and beats Trevor Bryant, he becomes 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. 1. 2. If Wilder does go on to retire now, you'll say Wilder retired because he was ducking AJ. So that's spun there. So AJ looks even better there. And then Usyk went to war. So the belts could get released during that time. That time, AJ's already got the WBA championship if he beats Trevor Bryant. And he can still come back and fight for those titles afterwards, because it's too long to wait now to see what the rest of those sanctioning bodies are going to do with AJ and those belts. So what will happen is maybe AJ could go and fight Trevor Bryan, pick up the WBA title, become 3-time heavyweight champion of the world, and then go and fight for the unified belts at another time. Should Fury get past Dillian Whyte and AJ were to go and fight Trevor Bryan and win the belt from Trevor Bryan, now, that's a way of doing things. Will Eddie do the negotiations with Don King? Now, Trevor Bryan was meant to be the guy that was going to come in and fight instead of Andy Ruiz. They messed that up before. And because negotiations wasn't great between Andy Ruiz, Don King, and Matchroom, because negotiations weren't great there, because he wouldn't do business with Don King, they wouldn't have got Andy Ruiz. Thought they were smart and got AJ getting knocked out. So think about this. They're not going to let Usyk's belts just go like that, just like that. Won't happen. They can't do that. World heavyweight champion. I just wonder now, if this was Muhammad Ali back then, would they have allowed Ali to keep the belt? That's what I'd like to know. If this was Muhammad Ali. Just thinking, just look at how Ali was treated back then. But he didn't want to go to war because he said, well, the people at Vietnam ain't done me anything. They ain't done me no harm. Ali just told him as it was. And those people said, no, if you won't serve us, then off you go. Do you understand? So I think there's lots to think about here, people. And there's lots to think about, people here. So I thought I'd do a short video to think about it. Listen, these are just my thoughts. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. I'm just saying these are my thoughts. And I just like to thought provoke and let you all think about it. And you can come back and tell me about it afterwards. Okay, so let's hear what people are saying in the room here. Michael Thomas, good evening. How are you doing? It's good to see you. Wilder will KO AJ. BWTM Sports did watch boxing. Social interview with AJ. He was shut a microphone. I know. AJ needs to leave Wilder alone, or AJ get Man City full moon tonight. AJ got mental. Angel is his trainer. Well, yeah, the Angel Fernandez is his trainer. If that's what makes him happy, if that's what makes him comfortable, if that's what he believes is going to take him to the heavyweight championship of the world, to fight, if they fight the WBA champion, interim fight, we say interim fight, could it be for the WBA title as an interim challenger, or getting the interim belt to challenge Trevor Bryan to jump the queue, even though Dubois is there? Does Dubois really want to fight Trevor Bryan? Does he really want to fight Trevor Bryan now? I mean, yeah, you would think on Dubois, Bryant's last performance, you think, yeah, Dubois is ready. But is he really ready? Who has he actually fought and beat? And that's the question you've got to ask yourself. You can say, well, who's Trevor Bryan fought and beat? Trevor Bryan is a lot better than people give him credit for. And I think he's got more boxing. He's a bit more mature as a boxer for me. I think Dubois needs a few more years and fighting a bit more opposition. The first opposition hit him back. That really hit him back. It didn't work out well. So you need to see him back in the fire again, fighting somebody who's going to throw punches back at him and see what happens. The last guy that threw punches back at him after Joe Joyce was that guy who fought in America. And he got hit with some heavy hits himself. Defense is still a concern for me about Dubois, but he's exciting. Don't get me wrong, he's exciting, but defense is absolutely zero. I still think Wilder's favorite versus AJ for me. Well, he's favorite if he continues fighting. He's not favorite if he decides to retire. AJ scared. Wilder. AJ can't do PR. AJ said he knocked out Joyce in round. I know. He did say that. Eddie Hearn scared do business with Don King. Well, I think so. I think it's a long, long time until Usyk's belts are dispersed. It's a very controversial issue. Of course. Eddie Hearn, empty Red Bull bottler promoter. AJ was done dirty back in day Z. Wilder is smokescreen to avoid Joe Joyce. Wilder most likely retired. You got it right there. There you go. There you go. You got it right there. So it's not just me saying it. That's what I'm saying. Of course it's smokescreen for Joe Joyce. They don't want no piece of Joe Joyce whatsoever. Are you crazy? Why would they want to fight probably the most dangerous heavyweight in the world at the moment? I mean, a lot of people talking about it. They don't want Joe Joyce. Nobody openly comes out and says they want to fight Joe Joyce, signs the contract and fights him. Listen, look at his resume and look at the guys he's been fighting. And you name me all the top 10 heavyweights, apart from Joe Joyce. Look at their resume in the first 10 fights, and you see if they fought the type of guys that Joe Joyce has fought. That's all. So you want to talk about AJ's resume? Look at Joe Joyce's resume. How many? And AJ was an Olympic gold medalist, yeah? Look at his resume. AJ versus Ortiz, good fight. Yeah, maybe. They'll think maybe Ortiz is vulnerable now. But if one straight left hand, and that's the end of AJ. Just remember that chin. That chin. AJ versus Tony Yoka? I don't think so. I don't think so. That chin. That defense. I don't know. We'll see. Joe Joyce is mandatory, I think. There you go. Now, the way you can kind of slip out of that is go and fight Trevor Bryant. Remember, Trevor Bryant. They can't pull them tricks with me. Eddie, I'm watching you. Right, that's it. I'm out of here. Short video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Please share, rate, subscribe. Let me get out of here. As I said, I'll only be 20 minutes, and I'm 22 minutes. And undefeated. Yes, remember that. Let's get out of here. Thank you guys for watching. As always, don't forget to rate, subscribe. Smash the like button, guys. You're in the room. Smash the like button. Like the video. Yeah? Really appreciate it. It does help with the video as well. Have a good night. Take care.